Hi, good evening, partners. This is Balaji from AssetPlus. So we are doing a session today on fixed deposits, learning about what is fixed deposits, how it functions. I know many of you be already selling fixed deposits to your clients, but still, out of the last con call that we had, where Vishant had presented the call, there were more and more questions about the credibility of the company where we are going to invest in fixed deposits, how they are raising money and from where they are going to invest, and about the rating, safety. Many more questions that was there in the last call. So what we have done is we have tried to get the invite from Mr. Rajiv Garg, who takes care of who is the Senior Vice President Marketing of Shriram Fixed Deposits, who is there in the call today to address most of our concerns and queries what we have. So, Mr. Raju, you can please feel to take the floor from here.
Okay, so thank you, Mr. Balaji, and I once again welcome all of you on behalf of Shriram Transport Finance Company Limited. We are having a very new association with your company, so it makes sense that we should meet and we should discuss about the company, the product, the process, and how the overall market is playing out. So I thank you, Mayank and Balaji, to give me an opportunity so that we can have some fruitful and meaningful interaction with your team. So coming to the point that Mr. Balaji just briefed you, that we will try to understand for which company you are working, what all the products are there, and what is the credibility of the company, what kind of business they are into, and what are the process of fixed deposit, and you may be having certain questions and queries that you may ask at a later time once we finish our brief talks about the company and the product. So as far as Shriram Transport Finance Company Limited is concerned, we are a part of Shriram Group, and the Shriram Group is consisting of all financial services like general insurance, life insurance, mutual fund, non-banking finance company. We have a distribution of financial product. We have a stock broking, and apart from it, we are also into some IT software development like tech solutions, and we are also into some engineering, uh, real estate, and some other manufacturing companies. But Shriram Transport Finance Company Limited is a flagship company of the group. We have two non-banking finance company in the group. One is Shriram Transport Finance and another one is Shriram City Union Finance. So Shriram Transport Finance is associated with a very niche segment in the country that is called the used commercial vehicles. And this company is registered as a deposit taking non-banking finance company. In fact, both the non-banking finance company of the group are registered as deposit taking non-banking finance company. You may be understanding what is deposit taking non-banking finance company and what is non-deposit. There are NBFC is a broad term, so most of the companies which are registered in this particular act, it can be a housing company, it can be asset financing company, it can be some other sort of non-banking finance company. Every company is called non-banking finance company. But the broad classification of the company is that one is deposit taking and another one may be non-deposit taking. Then there is another classification that is housing finance company. Earlier, housing finance company were into National Housing Board. Now it has been merged with Reserve Bank of India. And apart from it, there are non-banking finance company. So those companies who are licensed by Reserve Bank of India and they are under their prudent guideline for taking deposit from public, these are called deposit taking finance companies. So we are a deposit taking non-banking finance company, and we are into existence since last say about 45 years, and the primary business of the company is to lending money and resources to those people who want to start a transport business. So once when we got incorporated, our initial business was to fund those people who are not getting any loan from banks or other financial institutions. So we used to give them some sort of funding so that they can buy a used vehicle. We are doing only used vehicle which are maybe 3 to 6 7 years old, or maybe 8 years old, but we don't go beyond 10 years old. 10 years is also, it's our very limited number of trucks or commercial vehicle that we do for more than 8 years. So we are into used vehicle finance, and in used vehicle finance we do all sort of uh, vehicles which are being used for a commercial purpose. So this can be a passenger vehicle, it can be a bus, it can be a truck, it can be a smaller truck, it can be a bigger truck. So whatever is used for any commercial purpose, that we take it as a commercial vehicles. And primarily our customer is a driver. Normally you would have seen that driver, they run a vehicle for somebody else, and there is a aspiration, there is a dream of the driver that to run his own vehicle at some point of time. But the problem is that in India, one who want to seek some assistance in loan from banks and other institutions, they have to put some collateral. They should have some mortgage things with them so that they can take the resources from bank and fulfill their dreams. But the driver normally is a not very rich person. He don't have any land and parcel or maybe anything to mortgage with the banks or institutions. So normally they don't get any loan. They go to in a very informal system with relatives, friends, and maybe some small time money lenders, and they take money on a very higher rate. So Shriram Transport Finance is the only organized and non-banking finance company in India who is catering particularly to this segment, that is driver to be turned to be an owner. So our segment is niche segment, and nobody else in India is doing this kind of this kind of lending in India. There are companies who are doing for commercial vehicle, but only new vehicles. So doing a new vehicle is very easy, and you know the vehicle, what is the price and what is the what are the total expenses is to be done, and accordingly you can make some approval for a loan. It can be 80%, 90%. Even in some cases, people they give loan for up to 100% also on the road price. So in Shriram, we have certain philosophy that we don't want to give loan to a person who is having multiple vehicles with him. So he should be a driver. He should own one or two vehicle, or he may not be owning any vehicle. Second thing is he should be ready to give at least 30 to 40% of the cost of the vehicle from his pocket as a margin money, and the balance amount is being provided by Shriram. The basic idea is that if somebody is very serious about completing his dreams, or he want to be very serious with the business, there should be some equity participation from his side. There is no 0% or maybe 100% loan available for any vehicle with Shriram. He has to bring in some money and some equity, serious money, serious equity from his side. Third thing is that we don't take any collateral in terms of land or any mortgage or any fixed or immovable asset as a mortgage. We always do take from them a reference and the guarantee from our existing customer. So suppose somebody want to take a loan for a vehicle from Shriram Transport, he will have to bring a guarantee from any of our existing customer. And in security, we do take hypothecate both the vehicles for the guarantor and the vehicle that a new driver who is going to buy that vehicle. So normally we have our asset fully secured more than the amount that we normally give to the hirers. This segment is very niche and very special. You would have seen in the times of COVID when everything was closed, all institution, all schools, bank, offices, all roads were, in fact, these were totally closed. There was a total lockdown. But still, there were some utility items which are being delivered at our doorstep, or maybe the nearby kirana shop, or maybe some place which the government would have earmarked for supply of those things. Milk was coming, vegetables were coming, your gas wala was coming, your medicines were coming, and some more essential things, your logistic delivery boys, they were coming. So all these people, they are called, which segment they normally cater is, they locally, their movement is basically locally, and they operate not on a very large fleet of trucks. They have one or two vehicles with them, and they try to connect between the supplier and the end user. These are called individual single lorry operators. These are the people to whom we lend money. So even in COVID times, Shri Ram customer was moving his vehicle, he was on the road, he was doing his job, and there was a cash flow for him. There were large transporter which were not on the road, they were off the road, because interstate and interdistrict transportation was blocked by the government. They have not allowed that kind of thing. So, but in our case, this owner, driver come owner, since he is owning a very small vehicle and normally operate in a vicinity of 100 to 200 kilometers on a daily basis, he was having some business with him. So this particular segment is very, very niche. You would have heard during that time, there were a lot of analysis in the news, in the TV, that transport sector is suffering because drivers have gone to their natives. And that was true also. Lot of drivers, they have gone back to their natives and they were not coming back. So there was a shortage of driver. But in our case, this driver, he himself is the owner and he himself is the driver. So he was every time, all the time, he was on the steering and the driver's seat. So there was no issue of shortage of driver, and the cash flow of this person was very well regulated, continuous, and sustainable even during the COVID time. That is why our collection in 2020, it started picking up from the second month of the lockdown, that is from May 2020, our collection started picking up. Another thing is this, that this particular segment is very, very safe. And this, you can say that this is a all season segment. When there is a downturn in the economy, at that time, what happens, that the sale of new vehicles comes down. Whenever there is a slowdown of automobile sales or new vehicle sales, then the exchange of hands between used vehicle increases. People buy used vehicles, and the price of used vehicle increases because the capacity, incremental capacity is not available in terms of new vehicle. So at that time, our customer, our business is at benefit. Opposite to this, there can be a time when there is a sale growth of commercial vehicle is very, very good. They are experiencing that there is a shortage of new vehicles because there is a lot of demand. Capacity addition is being made by transport sector. Even at that time, lot of new drivers, they come out and they start their new business. So there is a new set of customer who come into the segment and they increase the demand for used vehicles. So in both the scenario, whether the economy is doing good or whether the economy is not doing good, whether the sale of new vehicle is picking up or whether the sale of new vehicle is slow down, this used vehicle segment is always remains relevant to the industry, relevant to the economy, relevant to the user. So this is a very, very all season segment, and you can see, if you are slightly interested into the financials and the history of the company, in last 45 years, there has not been any year when we have not given any dividend, we have not made any growth, we have not added to our AUM, we have not added to our profits and all that. So we have continuously grown and we have been very, very sustainable in terms of our income. when we used to fund on rates like more than 20-25%, even at that time our margins were 7%, or maybe close to 7%, or slightly better than 7%. Even today, when interest rate are less, when the market is into different dynamics, even today our margins are intact between 6.5 and 7. So when your earnings, when your net interest margin remains stable during this within the same range, it gives you one indication that the company has a very good control on pricing. We have a very good control on our business, be the rate of interest higher side or be the on a lower side. We can always fine tune our asset side accordingly. So this is a very niche segment, as I have told you, and in India, nobody else is doing the same kind of business. Reason behind this is that you need to have experience and expertise to fix up a valuation, to see how the vehicle will, how the pricing of the vehicle is there, and how is the profile of that customer. Because buying a new vehicle is very easy. You can go to the showroom, just select your preferred vehicle, take the price, take the quotation, make insurance, road tax, and you are on road. But when you want to buy a old vehicle, you have to see so many things. You have to see the papers, you have to see the engine, the tire, the condition of the vehicle, whether that maintenance is there or not there. So many things are there, and there is not one vehicle available in the India. There are hundreds and hundreds of models and capacity, and manufacturers in India which manufactures these kind of commercial vehicle. So in Shri Ram Transport Finance, we have a relationship model. A person has to look for 150 customers individually for a slightly 3 to 4 years period of time, and then gradually he becomes a branch in charge, then branch manager, and he climbs up in the hierarchy of the system. And the same person becomes a, after 20 years, 25 years, he becomes the very senior most person of the company, like our managing director. Once upon a time he was a trainee in the branch. Everybody in Shri Ram Transport Finance who are into a senior position today, at one point of time they were they were at the entry point to the organization. We don't take senior people from outside. Only one entry point in Shri Ram is that you have to learn from the scratch and then gradually climb on the ladder. So this gives you a lot of expertise, lot of insight about that business, which you cannot build up in a 2 or 3 or 5 or 10 years period of time. That is why this particular segment it had remained uncompetitive. It has remained likely to be monopolistic for Shri Ram Transport Finance, and we have 25 to 30% of market share of this particular industry. Rest of the market is into hands of local money lenders and small financials. So this is all about Shri Ram Transport Finance Company Limited, and we have around 1,27,000 crores of asset under management as of date. More than 1,700 branches all over India, 28,000 employees, and you would have recently heard that now our two of NBFCs are going to merge together, Shriram City Union Finance and Shriram Transport Finance. Both companies are having slightly different business, but their concepts are same. In Shriram City Union Finance, we are doing two-wheeler finance. We are the largest two-wheeler finance company in India. And then we are doing MSME finance, we are doing gold finance, and we are doing some different type of small businesses, SME finance there. So these companies put together would be the largest retail non-banking finance company of India, with an asset under management of somewhere around 1,60,000 crore, or if we add another 2 quarters when we technically and formally get merged, I think it should be around 1,70,000 crores of AUM, which would be the largest in the country. As far as our borrowings are concerned, we have a mix of borrowing. We don't borrow money from a single source. There are times when some particular window is giving better opportunity, and at other point of time there may be some other window which is giving you a better opportunity. So we are taking money from banks, we are taking money through securitization, we are taking money through pass-through certificates, we are taking money through NCD issuance, we are taking money through private placement of NCDs, we are taking money through foreign ECB bonds and masala bonds, and we are also taking money through fixed deposit. Uh, NCD, we are also coming with a public issue of NCD. So this fixed deposit per se is a product which we never stops. There can be a chances that sometime we do take a lot of bank loans because it's available on a cheaper rates. Probably at some other point of time we can go for ECB, external commercial borrowing, which is available on a very cheaper rate and very easy terms. But fixed deposit, we never stop because it's a retail money, it's a sticky money, and the slightly cost is higher. But this window, you can have a very good control. You can increase and decrease the flow of fixed deposit any point of time. So most of the time, since our inception, we have never stopped our fixed deposits, and we are one of the oldest company in India after Sundaram Finance, which are into fixed deposit. Other companies slightly newer than Shri Ram Transport Finance. So this is all about our borrowings and asset creation and how the business overall business model is there. Another thing is that as far as fixed deposit is concerned, we are CRISIL rated. We are AAA from CRISIL and we are AA from ICRA. But you would have heard that recently, last 2-3 months, Reserve Bank of India and SEBI both wanted to bring all credit rating agency to a similar standardized way of issuing ratings. So what they wanted with the rating agencies is that whether it's a non-convertible debenture, fixed deposit, or maybe it's a secured, unsecured, there can be different types of borrowing profile for anybody. Whether it can be a alternative investment fund, or it can be a startup who is getting a debt from somebody for doing his business. So whatever debt type, whatever kind of debt is available in India, a company should be scaled on a parameter on a scale point of 20 points. Earlier, it used to be a 14 scale point. Now they want to increase to 20. And this is a international standard of rating any debt in the system. So now we are following the same kind of process and practices, which is internationally accepted. So our rating agencies from 30th June onwards, they are revising the way they were working before. So in that respect, what has happened that we have taken ICRA rating remains AA plus for Shriram Transport Finance. We have already taken another rating from India rating, that is IND AA plus stable. And third is CRISIL. CRISIL we have reaffirmed a AAA, but since we don't want to have a multiple rating, because there is always a chance that one rating agency may have a different type of approach towards market condition or maybe any given point of time. So we have surrendered our CRISIL rating, and now we are working with ICRA and IND rating. Most of the companies would go through the revision of this kind of rating in this environment, and it is purely regulatory. As far as fundamental of the industry or the company or any business is concerned, there is no change in the fundamentals. Only the way of looking at credit rating agencies criteria, or maybe they try to standardize the process and bring it more protection for the customer, for the investor, and bring more transparency into the system as been practiced internationally. So I think it's a very good it's a good for a long term. It will bring more discipline and transparency and protection for the investor, particularly the retail investors. So this is all about Shriram Transport Finance. And coming to our product fixed deposit, This is a plain vanilla product where you get a tenure of 1 to 5 years. You can choose your tenure. You can choose the frequency of payment. A person can get a monthly interest payout. They can get a quarterly interest payout. Can be a half yearly. Sorry, it can be a yearly and it can be a cumulative one. Once it is cumulative, they get slightly better yields because in Shriram, we compound money on a monthly basis. Normally, bank compounds on a half yearly or maybe on an annual basis. Some non-banking finance company, they compound on a quarterly basis. But in Shriram, we compound on a monthly basis because our lending rates to our hirers, to the drivers, is also compounding on a monthly basis. So yield for a cumulative are much better than if you take the money in a monthly or maybe quarterly or half yearly or annual mode. Reason being because it gets compounded for a slightly longer time. Then in Shriram, you can have e-receipt, you can have a physical receipt, you can have this what we call is there is a TDS component in fixed deposit. So if you are having a cap where your income is not exceeding to a particular level, you can give 15H form or 15G form so that TDS is not deducted. If it is more than that, then by default your TDS is deducted. And there is a proper KYC which is to be submitted along with a fixed deposit form. It has to be your address and ID proof, and it has to be your with your photograph, should be self-certified and should be submitted to means maybe if it is online, then it has to be uploaded on the system, or if it is offline, then it has to be given on a physical mode. We have an interest rate for different tenure, it's different. So right from 1 year, we get 6.50 to a maximum tenure of say about 5 years, you get 7.75. We give an additional incentive to our senior citizen, which is 0.50. And when you calculate on a monthly basis, suppose I say that for 5 years we give 7.90 plus 0.50, it becomes 8.40. When you calculate it on a monthly basis, it comes lesser because even the interest rate is compounded on a monthly basis, then becomes 7.90 per annum. In the same way, for 0.50 as a senior citizen additional payment, this is also per annum. So if you take your interest on a monthly frequency, then your senior citizen benefit and the coupon rate of interest, it would be slightly lower on a monthly basis. We do give a slightly higher rate of interest when amount of per application form is more than 5 crores. We do accept money from all sort of customer. It can be a corporate, individual, partnership firm, HUF. It can be trust also. But in case of trust, normally they expect some exemption from income tax, which they don't get in Shriram Transport Finance. So we usually do take some sort of declaration from them that there is no exemption from any kind of income tax or whatever taxation is available. So they will not get any exemption from that. So documentation for corporates and partnership firms are slightly different from an individual one. So you need to have a board resolution. There is a list of documents. I think Balaji and Mr. Mayank would be able to share it with you. The process, I think you would have already been briefed about that. So I think mostly these are the things that I wanted to cover. Probably you may be having some queries and clarification to be asked by you. So I would request Mr. Balaji to just help me out. So that I will just request there should not be any duplicacy of the question, so that the same answer is to be given for the same questions. So better we filter out the questions and then we take it.
Yeah, thanks, Raju. So, dear partners, if you have any questions, please feel free to unmute yourself and ask, or you can post in the chat box also. So, meanwhile, when partners are going to ask question, no, Raju, there was
Yeah.
one question that last call that had us earlier. Shriram Transport had that negative rating, and then it moved to stable rating. So, in your discussion itself for the last 30 minutes, so you had somewhere mentioned that you had changed that rating agency as per the RP. Could you again prove that for us? So, what was the reason it was negative and then it has moved to stable now?
Yeah, see, normally what happens whenever there is a financial market and there is any event happening in the marketplace which can disrupt the market, like COVID happened in 2020. So when it happened and suddenly there was lockdown and there were a lot of uncertainty, so every financial institution they will just look at what will happen tomorrow, and there was no clarity how the business will run, how the collection will come. So a lot of analysts and credit rating agencies they just cautiously they put the things into negative territory, that we are not sure how the collection would be made, we are not sure whether the business can be restarted at the same level as the post pre COVID level. So because of the uncertainty, not only Shri Ram, rating agency would have put all the banks, most of the banks, even SBI was on a watch list. So all the banks and financial institution they were put on a watch, that
Mm.
what will happen. And with the gradual improvement in the environment, gradual improvement in the sentiments and the business and the collections, then gradually they also look at, no, now the business are getting stable, and they reaffirm or though they remove it from the negative or their watch list. So it is very common, and it is very natural behavior of all credit rating agencies. And since then, once that negative watch list was removed, and that was being done by Standard and Poor, that was not been done by any Indian rating agency, that was done by Standard Poor, which normally rate you for international issuance of that. So because internationally things were more disturbing than India, so that is how their reaction came in that way.
So it is more of about the lockdown and COVID scenario
It
because
was it was only due to COVID and the lockdown situation and uncertainty that prevailed during that time due to that kind of situation.
understood. Understood.
Yeah.
So we have next question that can you share details about premature withdrawal and if there are any charges for premature withdrawals?
Yeah. So premature, we have a certain guidelines. One is that up to 3 months there cannot be any premature withdrawal. After 3 months and up to 6 months, you can withdraw the amount, but there will not be any interest payable, whatever it may be. After 6 months, you can withdraw the money and you can get an interest which is 3% less than 1 year rate. Suppose our rate is 6.5% for 1 year, and if you withdraw your money in 7th month, you would be getting 3.50 rate of interest for 7 months.
So
If
partner,
if
yeah,
suppose you have invested money for 5 years period, and you are foreclosing your amount after completion of 3 years, then what we will do, 7.90 is a rate for 5 years as on today, and 7.75 is a rate for 3 years. So we will reduce 2% from 3 years period, like 7.75, because your money is remained with us for 3 years. So actually you invested for 5 years, but you remained for 3 years. So on a real cost basis, you are eligible for 7.75. We will deduct 2% from 7.75, so you are eligible for 5.75 rate of interest for a period of 3 years. So that is how we do foreclosure. You need to submit the original receipt with us. You need to fill up a foreclosure form and submit to us. And normally there is a TAT of around 7 working days. So you get your money before that.
okay. So is there any Excel calculator for this premature withdrawals and all? Do you have any calculation here?
Yeah, that can be done through our system only.
System.
Yeah, that can be done. You can ask from us that this is the amount and this is the date when you want to foreclose. So we can give you some calculation on that.
Yeah, because it will be helpful for me to share to all the partners. They can refer in that calculator itself directly.
Yeah, I think normally it comes from the system because they may not be knowing what was the rate 5 years before. So they will calculate on the current rate basis. So there
Understood.
is a possibility somebody would have done 5 years back and now
Mm.
the rates are different. So we will take the rate which were prevailing at the time when he invested with us. So
Okay.
all these data are available only in the system. Once we put the date of fixed deposit, automatically it capture and it fetch the same rate which were prevailing at that time.
Mm.
So we can give you a small, formula that how do we calculate.
Okay.
But actual calculation you will not be able to do because historically that interest rates are not available with you.
Understood. Understood. And so some part of Om Prakash has asked a question about double up money scheme. I don't know what is this actually. Do you have any idea about this? Double up, Mr. Om Prakash?
Yeah, so I think he's asking about the scheme where your money gets double into a certain period of time. So Reserve Bank of India allows non-banking finance company to borrow money only up to 5 years. For fixed deposit, we cannot borrow more than 5 years, but housing finance company can borrow beyond 5 years also. So we cannot make any product which can double up the amount in, if it is more than 5 years, then certainly it will not double up. So we can't name it as a double up product. So normally it's a bonds, this double zero coupon bond which get doubles in 5 years or 6 years or 7 years period. So normally in fixed deposit there is no double up sort of product.
So the other question is, again, they're asking on the premature withdrawal only. One, within 3 months, no pre-withdrawal. 2 to 3 months to 6 months, no interest. Above 6 months, penalty of 3% interest amount. Is this right? Is what is
Correct.
this?
Yeah, so we had already clarified it.
I think more or less the question is more about premature withdrawal only. So
Okay.
most of the points I think in brief you have covered while starting the session itself about Shriram company and how it has been managing and things.
Correct.
Dear partners, if there are any other questions, no, you can please feel free to unmute yourself and ask.
Hello.
Yeah, Ashutosh.
Can a client take a loan on FD?
Yeah, they can take a loan. So after 3 months, they can apply for a loan and they can get up to 75% of the amount deposited as loan. The rate of interest that we charge from customer is normally 2% higher than whatever interest he is getting on a fixed deposit. Suppose he is getting an interest of 7.75 and today he want a loan on that. So he will get a 75% amount can be given as a loan, but the rate of interest for payback amount should be 9.75. And normally we don't take money in between. So suppose you have taken a loan today, we will give you a loan of 75% and it will run up to the maturity date. At the time of maturity, whatever is the balance amount is to be paid to you, that would be paid to you after adjusting the loan and the interest of that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think there are no further questions, Mr. Raju. I think this is good enough for us to end the session. And
Yeah.
thank you for.
So you feel free anytime you want to have any kind of clarifications or interaction with your team. So you can just give me a day's or 2 days notice. We can always come on Zoom and we can have repetitive sessions. So there is no issue under that.
Definitely. So you are the first person that we have invited in fixed deposit here
Okay.
today.
Okay. Okay.
More of a mutual fund meetings. So we have
Okay.
started this fixed deposit meeting. So it was very nice and insightful session about Sri.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. So thank you all your team to be a part of this brief session. And you can reach to me anytime through Mr. Balaji or through Mr. Mayank. My mail ID and contact details are with them. I would be happy to address you again any point of time when Balaji and Mr. Mayank need they feel any need like this. So thank you all and all the best to you.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye. Thank you, partners. Bye.